Hi, welcome back to Miles Team Show. We are your medical, insurance, legal expert solutions. Thank you for joining us Tuesday at noon to hear the latest on subjects in the areas of medical, insurance, and legal. In addition, we bring you other segments on nutrition, health, and wellness. Our food segment every week brings you a new recipe for you and your family to enjoy. I am Christy Branham, your host, and we can be found on mnotv.com, our Facebook page at My Miles Team, and our Miles Team TV YouTube channel. The show can be accessed live on Tuesdays at noon or on demand at your leisure. Today, we have with us attorney Debora Diaz with the Office of Debora Diaz here in Newport Richey. And today we are going to discuss some subject matters concerning parenting and co-parenting and time sharing. Some matters that we all may have questions about sometimes in our families and in our friendships and acquaintances that we come in contact with. So we're going to talk to Debora today about those matters and tell us a little bit more about Debora and learn about her and her law office as well. So thank you for joining us today, Debora.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. So those are some tough subjects sometimes, but I know you help clients and make it a lot easier and answer a lot of questions. So today we'd like for you to maybe help us out a little bit and understand some of the answers to those questions that come up and oftentimes. And one of the things I would like to ask you is look at it on a more of a positive side to start with especially.
Yes.
And what are some of the components to a co-parenting plan that may make it a little bit easier or just make it a good plan in general?
A good plan. All right. So we were talking about, let's go from the premise that the parties have already entered into a parenting plan.
Okay.
I like it. I mean, if we're involved that we haven't done it yet, then we can talk about that. But if we've already have a parenting plan, go to the guidelines. People, sometimes they go to your plan. Sometimes people they have a dispute, and these documents can be 20, 30 pages long. So go to the plan first, right? Before you
Always
start
revert
making a
back to the
big thing
plan.
about it, go to the plan, read it, look at it. Now, these plans can be, many times they can be as vague, I say, as possible, or broad, or sometimes specific. For example, many times there can be a dispute over the pickup time.
Right.
We'll say, okay, we're going to pick up Friday after school. That can be, okay, after school. What time is after school? Is it 3 o'clock? Okay. Or is it 6 o'clock? All right.
Exactly.
Some parents need that all spelled out, and so that's why we hope if it's a couple that needed that it is spelled out what time they pick out. But I tell my clients again that it can be as broad or as specific as possible. If the parties aren't getting along, then the time definitely needs to be spelled out as far as, okay, pick up, 1 hour after school lets out, and then when the reverse pickup's going to be. Or if the parties can get along, many times they'll say it's going to be mutually agreed upon by the parties. Yeah. So first go to the plan, read it, know what your document says, and then have some discussions with that. And you can look at changing down the road too. Many times there's
so it's not something that the two parents can't adjust if they feel mutually in agreement that they should adjust it.
There can be a lot of confusion because these parenting plans are dealing with not only the weekday, weekend time sharing, you're dealing with spring break, summer break, holidays.
Yes.
So sometimes parents they alternate years. Maybe Christmas one year, and then the other parent gets it the following year. So maybe odd and even altering. Sometimes it's a splitting day altering. Know what your agreement says and then go from there. And again, if you want to change, if the parents can agree on it, the court's not going to say no. Okay?
Right.
It's when the parties can agree, the time sharing is your fallback. What you have that's been approved and signed by the court, and that's your fallback.
Gotcha.
But certainly, and the court hopes that you do this. If there's weekends that you're going to travel and you want an extra day, that you are co-parenting and calling the parent and saying, can I have the extra night on Friday because we want to leave sooner for our vacation? Because at some point you are going to want to do that.
Exactly.
So it really, so the parenting plan is the fallback.
Right.
But really, you should be flexible.
Yes. So do you suggest, one thing that I've encountered with people is some people feel they get along great, and they never had a parenting plan, especially in situations where maybe people had children and they didn't have to go through a divorce, that they weren't married to begin with. Do you suggest that everyone have a parenting plan? Because some people feel like they get along so well, they don't want to rock the boat and even ask for a parenting plan.
Under Florida law, it's required to have a parenting plan. Okay, so
even if you're not going through a divorce?
It's going to be through a divorce or through a paternity action.
I see.
When we're going through those, as far as establishing time sharing,
Right.
there's going to be a parenting plan. It has to be, there has to be one in place.
So it's always good to have it because it's the fallback plan that keeps everything on course, is what I think I'm understanding.
Exactly.
Yes, so
Exactly.
that's good. It gives you the guideline.
It gives you the guidelines, and that's why I try to stress that it's your fallback, that you can deviate as long as the parties agree.
Right, right. I think it keeps you on course, and I think it's an accountability. You know, even in other aspects of our life, we hear that word used a lot at work or whatever.
Right.
There's accountability. I think that having that guideline keeps everybody accountable.
Right. The other thing that the parenting plans are addressing is, the activities, what's going to happen with extracurricular activities.
Yes.
What happens with schooling.
Education.
So it's your guideline
Yes,
for co-parenting.
it's great. It's great to understand that. What would you say would be some suggestions you would have when they do have conflict, when parents are having conflict, whether it be in schooling or health concerns, or even just the time sharing in vacation and holidays or whatever? What would be some points or tips that you would give us in steps maybe to helping resolve conflict? I'm sure you've dealt with parents with conflict.
We're going to go back to your plan, know what it says. Try not to react with emotions. Try not to be that it's that snap reaction. Go back, think about it. Think, all
before
right?
you speak.
Think, and then think, is it in the best interest of my child? All right.
Very good point.
Am I acting because
Of
my
an
spouse
emotion.
is doing something that I don't like? Maybe there's a new significant other. Am I reacting because of that, or why am I reacting like this?
Yes.
So think before you react,
Right.
and keep the child in mind
Yes.
as
Good point.
to how you're going to. And then there's other, then there's parenting coordinators, counseling. Reach out if you have a friend that can offer a more objective view. Run it by someone, the incident, whatever it is that you're disturbed about, run it by. Number one thing is take a deep breath, count to 10, think before you react.
Yes, very good point. We need to do that. We
And
say
we
that
need
in
to
other
do that
aspects.
in most everything.
Exactly. And we say
how-
that in so many aspects in life, but I think sometimes key point is, like you said, don't react with emotion. And I think in these situations, sometimes we do that. We probably
It's hard.
react, we don't think and count the 10. And that's very important. If we probably just stop, we could probably handle things a little differently. So
Yes.
very good point. Now, you did bring up something that I think is another interesting dilemma that people go through. I mean, these are not the best subjects sometimes. Almost everyone that sits in that seat, we talk about, these are not always the subjects that people want to really talk about, but they're parts of our life that are so important, and we need to know about them. We need to have the information, and some of these subject matters, if not majority of them, we're going to deal with at some point in our life, in medical insurance and legal. So
Yes.
even this subject matter, it's not maybe the most fun subject matter, but we can approach everything with a more positive spin. And I think, like you said, a lot of things have to do with our attitude and how we approach it. But one of the things you just said that I think becomes an issue again is what happens when one or both parents, they move on to another phase of life and now someone else is in their life. What happens in that co-parenting part? Does one parent have more of a say over the other, especially when they have issues because one or both parents have moved on? What are your experience there?
This is what I see is a lot of issues arising when the parties move on and the significant other, new significant partner comes in, and they are the divorced spouses or spouse is letting that new person dictate what happens the relationship with the child. There's a lot of that, and it's it's emotions, it's jealousies and things. I mean, they'll say, my new wife, can't stand my ex-wife.
Right.
And so they're taking it out on the child that's part of the relationship. So
Right.
you really need to be cognizant of that and not let that happen. The child is yours. Yes, you have there should be some guidelines and rules. I was a step parent and had rules, and there should be that there's
General
there's
respect.
respect for the new
Yes.
person, but the other, the divorced spouse, parent is still there, and there shouldn't be any disparaging whatsoever.
No,
I mean,
towards
I had
any
a case
party, yes.
last week where someone said, my new husband is disparaging my ex-husband in front of the child.
Oh, yeah,
Okay, that just should not happen.
No, it should not.
It should not
No.
happen. So you're going to have people divorce, breakup of relationships. Fact of life, it happens.
happens.
So now, how do you deal with it? Okay,
Yeah.
and so you have your new partners, your new significant others, but remember that you have the children there, and they're still part of this equation.
That's right. The children love both parents, as they should.
Yes.
They're supposed to love
Yes.
both their parents, and everyone should respect that. That's so
Yes.
important, to allow the child to love their parent and not have to hear negative. So very important.
But on the same token, as you're doing time sharing and you have, and say it's in every other, I mean, the child should respect the new person. That's going to be the thing. There should be that there's the respect for that. But that new person is not the new, not the dad.
Right.
not
Need to
the
have
father,
boundaries,
not
and
the
we need to
boundaries.
know the boundaries, absolutely understanding the boundaries. Well, thank you, Debora. We're getting ready to take a break, and we're going to come back. We have a couple more questions for Debora on this subject matter. She's bringing us some great stuff, and we have our food segment coming up. So we're going to take a brief break, and we'll be right back.
81% of consumers search online before even setting foot in a store. We help you create a strong foundation for your digital reputation. We help build your online presence to improve search engine rank and make sure your business information is correct across the web. You could do all of this on your own, but why would you spend more than 300 hours a year working on this? You have a business to run. Save time and put our software to work for you.
Hi, we are back now with Debora Diaz discussing co-parenting, time-sharing in split family situations. She's bringing us some great information, having a good time talking with her and learning a lot about better ways to deal with parenting and co-parenting issues. So one of the questions I have, Debora, is can you help us a little bit with what Florida law advises in regards to co-parenting and divorce, parenting in a divorce and that kind of thing? What does the law advise here?
Okay, well, the public policy in the state of Florida is that both parents should be actively involved in the raising of the children. And that's the shared, so our default is, the term we use is shared parental responsibility, meaning sharing the decision-making of what happens. So, and these are what's going to be incorporated into the parenting plan, but sharing the decision. The education is going to be private school, public school. What are you doing with education?
Right.
What kind of extracurricular activities are that
yes.
you're going to be doing? This should be a discussion with the parents. What any religion? What are we doing about the spiritual issues? What's going to happen there? How are you doing that? So having a discussion about those things with the children, meaning sharing the doctor's appointments and the general upbringing of the children. They should be a united front. I mean, and these are part of some of the, as I talk about these are the factors that the court, I mean, there's 20 factors or so under our statutes when the court is determining, what's the best. It goes back to the best interest of the child. And these are part of the factors, the ability to get along and talk and encourage relationships with the other parent
Yes,
And
very
so
important.
it's this shared responsibility. Many times if I touch on people who say, well, I want to be the only one that makes decisions, sole parental responsibility. I can tell you that that's very rare. The court, I mean, in situations where there's some domestic violence abuse, there may be some extreme drug use, some kind of, the parent, some kind of severe illness. But for the majority of the time, it's going to be a shared parental responsibility, meaning that parents can, our default is that both parents have right to access to all the school and medical records. One parent doesn't have a right to say they're not getting the school records or things like that. So it's this shared responsibility of raising the children, and that's incorporated into the plan.
Yeah, great. That's good information.
I know I go on.
No, it's perfect. I mean, you're bringing us such vital information to understanding, and I think you just really summed it up very well, is that the children are the responsibility of two people, and not just in say-so and in decisions, but in all aspects, the time sharing, the amount of time they spend with each party, the responsibilities of those doctor's appointments and who's taking them and who's participating. And of course, one person may take the lead on one thing, but the other person takes the lead here, but it's all a give and take. And that's so important. And I think that's such a great thing that you pointed out, is that the children, first of all, should be the best interest of the child. Is everything that we're choosing to do or say or go about, is it in the best interest of the child? And two, the children are the responsibility of both parties. So, and if that can happen.
And more people need to get that.
Exactly. And if that can happen, that's so awesome. Because the children love both parents. They have two parents, and there's nothing more important than having two parents involved in a child's life. It's most important for that child.
Right.
So, and on that note, looking at what's so important for the child, none of us are perfect, and we all make mistakes and do things we shouldn't do, and maybe don't always think about the things we do or say before we do it. What would you say are just a few of the tips that you would advise people of the do's and don'ts in parenting? So what are some of the things that we should not do or we should do?
And are we talking if we already have a plan in place or pre-litigation? This is a broad.
I would say that is true. That is broad. I would say, in general, maybe even before litigation.
Make sure, again, some do's. No disparaging the parents. Okay.
Yes.
None of that. No withholding of the child. Both children have. One parent doesn't get a chance to control and say, you're not seeing your son and you're not seeing your daughter today, and try to be this controlling. Don't do that. Make sure that when you have, because what I call is these third party influencers, make sure that your parents, your friends, your neighbors, when you have children, are also not disparaging the other party, okay? Because all that can be important either in pre-litigation, when you're trying, and then afterwards. So you want, so that if you're, as far part of getting ready for litigation, and we hope it doesn't get that way, is making sure you're keeping track. Document of everything that's going on and the time sharing. Okay,
Absolutely.
Like a parent that doesn't show up, you write down, July 31st, spouse didn't show up to pick up. That kind of thing can be important when you're trying to establish best interest and if the parents can't agree on a plan.
Yes, very good.
Number one, remember that it's the best interest of the child, and remember that the children love both parents. Yes. You are getting a divorce. The children aren't divorcing the other side.
That's a great way to put it. Absolutely. The kids aren't divorcing someone, the adults are.
Right.
So absolutely. Very important stuff. Thank you, Debora, for being with us today and bringing us such important information to help us in these situations and think through what we're doing and saying. But you are located here in Newport Richey, correct?
Yes, 6641 Madison Street, right across from Morton Plant North Bay Hospital.
Nice, thank you. So thank you so much for joining us. We can also find Debora Diaz on the directory at mymilesteam.com. And you have a website as well.
Yes, Debora Diaz Law, that's Debora Diaz, law.com. I spell it because I spell my name differently. I also have a lot of good blog articles on there on parenting, on mediation, time sharing, insurance on divorce. So a lot
Great,
of good
good
blog articles.
educational information. That's awesome. So we can learn more and more. So I've visited your website, and you do have some really good information on there. So look Debora up and look up our directory and learn more about Debora and other professionals on that site. We're going to take a brief break and come back with our food segment. So make sure you come back and learn about a new recipe today that I think you're going to love. I'm looking forward to it. So we'll be right back. Thank you for joining us back with our food segment. We have with us today Aimee Horta. She is a certified holistic health coach. Her business name is Holistic Health Maven. You can also find her on her website at www.holistichealthmaven.com. So she's with us today with a cool new recipe. I'm looking forward to this one. I'm going to let her tell you a little bit more about it, and thank you for joining us and telling us about this new recipe.
Yeah.
So what do we have?
Thanks for having me today, Christy. This is just a really great recipe for summertime. It's a berry smoothie, and it's really refreshing, you know, to get out of the heat and have this. And there's
cool.
also a cool little trick at the end. So parents, if you want to make something really great for your kids, you can actually, when you're done making the smoothie, you pour it into a popsicle mold.
Oh, cool.
This is a silicone popsicle mold made by Kinderville.
Okay.
And you can get these online. I think there's a set of 4.
Okay.
And then once you pour it in there, you pop them in the freezer, and then the kids can have a great treat too.
Oh, nice. Good. Good and healthy for the kids too.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. So a very simple recipe. We're going to start with some yogurt. And I like to use a yogurt that is live culture yogurt because it has the beneficial bacteria that helps with gut health.
Okay.
So we're just going to put in a little bit of that. It's probably about 2 ounces.
Okay.
And then we'll go ahead and add our berries. And you can use whatever you like. I like to use berries like blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, and strawberries because they're a little bit lower glycemic.
Okay.
So you're careful of your sugar content, not making it too sweet. And then you can go ahead and add probably about half of a banana to a third of a banana, depending on how big it is.
Okay.
And again, if you're watching your sugar, you can always control that and make more or less.
All right.
Then what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of ground flaxseed. This will add some protein and some omega-3 fatty acids, which helps with inflammation in the body.
Oh yeah, that's good.
And then we have a little bit of orange juice, about a 1/4 cup of orange juice. Give it a little bit of a citrus flavor.
Okay.
And I also do, and you can again control the amount on this, but you can do about a teaspoon of honey.
So some natural sugars in here instead of all the artificial.
Right. It's just a little better for you that way. And then to add a little more liquid, you can add milk of your choice. I like to use goat's milk because it's pasture raised. It doesn't create as much inflammation in the body as a cow's milk does.
Okay.
And you can get this at Publix. It's the Meyenberg goat's milk.
Okay.
You could also use an almond milk,
Almond
or
milk. Awesome.
you can make your own milk out of chia seeds.
Oh,
There's different recipes for that as well.
nice. So then we just
All
blend
right,
it all
and then
together.
we just blend it up.
So simple, nice and pretty.
Give it a little check and
Yeah.
make sure that our berries are mixed up.
Oh wow. It's nice and bright colored.
Yes, I love that too. And that's also good. The kids like
I was
that.
gonna say, but the kids like the color.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's it. That's all there is to
nice.
it.
So we can pour it up and see our results here. Oh, that's such a pretty color.
And
Very
that's
nice.
it.
So you suggest to use this, obviously, as a popsicle. It can be used for the children.
Yes.
Use it as like a breakfast or a snack or meal replacement. What do you suggest there?
Sure, you can do any of those things.
Okay.
If you have it in the morning for a snack, for breakfast, I would definitely pair it with some other protein, maybe some eggs or egg whites,
Okay.
maybe some turkey bacon, something like that. It makes a great pick-me-up in the afternoon as well, just to
Okay.
help give you that little boost in the afternoon. Maybe
bet
instead of a
so,
coffee,
yeah.
go for a smoothie instead.
Yeah, so the natural sugars will give you that little bit of a lift.
Yes.
Gosh, I know I need that every day. About 2 o'clock, whew,
Yep.
I have to find something. So it's a
Perfect
good alternative
solution.
to the coffee I sometimes choose,
Yes.
correct? All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Aimee, for joining us and bringing us this recipe. It's awesome. Like you said, we can use the popsicle molds for, you can even use the, like, I call them the ice maker kind that you can buy. You can use them in any kind of popsicle mold, I imagine. Use
That's
it for the
right.
kids. Great snack for them, healthy. So appreciate you being with us. And as always, the recipe will be on our Facebook page, so you can find it there every Tuesday. You'll find the recipes on there, so you'll have everything you need to make this for your family at home. So
Yes.
thank you again, Aimee, for being with us. We're looking forward to you joining us even next week with a new recipe,
Yes.
as well as you guys joining us next week with our new recipe and new segment. So thank you again for joining us today at Miles Team Show. We look forward to sharing with you every week on the subjects of medical, insurance, and legal, as well as health, wellness, and nutrition. So please join us every Tuesday at noon or on demand at your leisure at mnotv.com, Facebook at My Miles Team, or our YouTube channel, Miles Team TV. You can find a listing of our experts online at our directory at www.mymilesteam.com. Again, I'm your host, Christy Branham. See you next week. And remember, Miles Team, going the distance to bring the experts to you.